It began on a great, rain-soaked Monday morning, the kind of day that made the sky look heavy and the world feel a little colder. Rain Carter, a 16-year-old girl with quiet eyes and dreams bigger than her town, walked through the school gates with her hoodie pulled tight over her head and her favorite sketchbook clutched to her chest. That book was her escape, her therapy, her only friend on most days. In its pages, she drew her pain, her hope, the imaginary worlds she wished to live in, and the memories she could never speak aloud. At school, Rain was invisible, not by mistake, but by choice. She wasn't unpopular, but she had no circle. She preferred the back row, the quiet lunch tables, the empty hallways between classes. She stayed out of everyone's way and simply hoped life would leave her alone. But life, as it often does, had different plans. For months, Rain had tolerated the small jabs at her passing remarks, the giggles behind her back, the snide comments from Taylor and her group. Taylor Monroe was beautiful, loud, and venomous. She ruled the school with her smirk and her cruelty, hiding her own insecurities behind flawless makeup and rehearsed confidence. She had targeted Rain before, called her names like Ghost Girl, Sketch Freak, and Silent Psycho. But Rain never reacted. She never gave them the satisfaction. Until that day. That morning, the school halls were buzzing with chatter, lockers slamming, and wet shoes squeaking on the floor. Rain quietly made her way to her locker, hoping to blend into the noise. Just as she opened it, she heard the familiar high-pitched laughter behind her. She froze. Taylor's voice sliced through the hallway. "Look who decided to show up. It must be hard carrying all that weirdness around in that ugly bag." Before Rain could respond or even turn around, something hard hit her backpack, then another. She spun just in time to see Taylor's friend, Mia, deliver a final mocking kick, sending her bag sliding down the wet floor like garbage tossed aside. The sketchbook flew out, her pencils and art supplies scattered like marbles, and worst of all, her drawings, her most personal creations, landed open-faced in a puddle of dirty water. Rain ran over, ignoring the laughter, ignoring the growing circle of students who stopped to watch the spectacle. She dropped to her knees, scooping up her ruined drawings, feeling the ink run down the page like bleeding wounds. Her hands shook as she tried to gather everything, her heart pounding like a drum of humiliation. The laughter behind her got louder. Taylor strutted up beside her, towering over her. "Oops," she said, pretending to pout. "Did I hurt your little scribble book?" Rain didn't reply, but something in her eyes changed. Something dark and sharp replaced the usual quiet. She stood up slowly, her soaked sketchbook in her hand. Her clothes were wet, her fingers were trembling, and her face was pale but her eyes burned with something fierce. Without a word, she stepped forward. One firm step, two, and then, without hesitation, she kicked Taylor right in the side of her leg. It wasn't out of rage. It was out of release. Years of being pushed around, ignored, laughed at, finally cracking through her. Taylor stumbled backward in shock, hitting the metal lockers with a loud crash. The hallway felt completely silent. Gasps filled the air. Even Taylor's friends froze. No one had ever stood up to her like that. Taylor stared at Rain with disbelief, holding her side, too shocked to speak. Rain's voice, when it finally came, was low but steady, shaking not from fear but from truth. "I've let people like you treat me like I don't exist, but today, I do, and I'm done hiding." She bent down, picked up her bag, and walked away, not fast, not afraid, but proud. She left behind silence. The crowd slowly dispersed, many whispering, some stunned, others secretly impressed. Later that day, Rain was called to the principal's office. She was given a 3-day suspension for physical retaliation. Her mother was called. Rain sat quietly in the office, holding her ruined sketchbook, waiting for the disappointment she was sure would follow. But when her mother arrived, tired from work and eyes puffy from lack of sleep, she surprised Rain. She didn't scold her. She hugged her tightly. "I'm proud of you," she said, "not for fighting, but for finally standing up." For the first time in a long time, Rain felt seen, not just by the world, but by her mother, by herself. During her suspension, she spent her time redrawing her sketches from memory and posted a few on a small online art forum. She wrote a brief caption, My sketchbook was destroyed by bullies. This is what survived. She didn't expect anything, but the post went viral. Hundreds, then thousands of people commented. Strangers who told her they'd been through the same thing, people who saw strength in her art, others who said her words made them cry. She received messages from other teens, artists, even teachers who wanted to share her post in classrooms. Her inbox was full of love, something she never thought she'd feel from the world. When she returned to school 3 days later, the energy had shifted. Some students gave her silent nods of respect. A few apologized for laughing. One girl approached her shyly and said, "Thank you, you helped more than you know." Even the teachers seemed to see her differently. Taylor, on the other hand, never came near her again. Her pride had been broken. The queen of cruelty had been knocked off her throne, not by violence, but by truth. Rain didn't become popular. She didn't suddenly sit with the cool kids, but she wasn't invisible anymore either. She started a small art group during lunch, just a table in the library where students who felt like outsiders could draw, talk, or just be. The group grew. By the end of the semester, it had a name: The Quiet Ones, and every member knew that quiet didn't mean weak. Years later, Rain stood on a stage, holding that same damaged sketchbook. Her hair was longer, her voice stronger, but her message was the same. She told her story, not for revenge, not for applause, but for the girl sitting alone in the back row, scared to be noticed. She held up her ruined drawings, and said, "They attacked my bag, but they didn't break me. They broke their own pride, and I found my strength in the wreckage." The audience stood in applause, some crying, many inspired, because Rain's story wasn't